There's a moment most guys know. You see someone, and for a second, you think about walking over. And then something happens, not something dramatic, just a quiet voice in the back of your head that says no, so you don't. You look away. You pick up your phone. You find something very important to do on the other side of the room, and she never knows you existed. Later that night, you're seating in bed, and the moment comes back, crystal clear, who you could have been in that moment. And then you think something that's much harder to admit, why can't I just do it? That question is what this video is about, not tricks, not a confidence formula, just an honest look at what's actually going on and what it takes to change it. Most guys think this is a skill problem. They think, I just don't know what to say, or I need to be funnier, more confident, better looking, taller, more successful. So they wait. They tell themselves they'll do it when they're ready, when they have more to offer, when they feel different than they do right now. And years pass, and they still feel the same way they did at 16, heart pounding, palms a little sweaty, brain completely blank, standing in front of someone they're attracted to. Here's what's actually happening. It's not about words or looks. It's about a story you've been telling yourself for a very long time. A story about what it means if this goes wrong. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that putting yourself out there was dangerous. That being seen and rejected was one of the worst things that could ever happen to you. Maybe someone laughed at you when you were young. Maybe you watched your friends get rejected and decided it was safer to never try. Maybe you just absorbed it quietly from the people around you. The idea that real men don't fail, don't hesitate, don't show interest unless they're certain it'll be returned. And that's how you built a wall. Not because you're weak, but because some part of you decided the wall was safer than the alternative. There's something that makes this worse, and almost nobody talks about it. At some point, you stopped thinking about talking to women, and you started thinking of it as a performance. There's an invisible audience in your head, judging, waiting for you to mess up. So now when you approach someone, you're not just having a conversation, you're auditioning. Every word gets evaluated before it leaves your mouth. Every pause feels like failure. Every moment of silence feels like proof that you're not good enough. And here's the thing about performing, it's exhausting. It makes you slow. It makes you so focused on how you're coming across that you forget to actually be there. She can feel it too, by the way. Not because women are genius, but because everyone can feel when someone isn't really present. When someone is managing an impression instead of having a conversation. And the painful irony is that the more you try to seem confident, the less confident you actually come across. The performance is the problem. Let's be honest about the fear, because it's not really about her. You're not afraid of her. You don't know her. You can't be afraid of someone you've never spoken to or never even got to know well enough. What you're afraid of is what her reaction might say about you. If she's not interested, what does that mean? If she walks away, what does that make you? And somewhere underneath all of it is a belief that most guys carry without ever examining it. I need her to respond well so I can feel okay about myself. That's the real weight. Not the conversation, not the rejection, but the fact that you've placed your self-worth on the outcome of an interaction with a stranger. That's an enormous amount of pressure to put on a conversation. And it's also completely unfair to you, because it means you can never just talk to someone. Every conversation becomes a referendum on your value as a person. No wonder it feels terrifying. So what actually changes this? Not a script, not a formula, something quieter than that. The first shift is about what you're going in there to get. Most guys walk into a conversation trying to get something, approval, a number, or at least a validation. And when you're trying to get something from someone you've just met, you become desperate in a way that you cannot see, but everyone else can. What if you walked in to give something instead? Genuine attention, real curiosity, a moment of actual human connection, not as a strategy, but as the actual goal. When the goal is just to have a real conversation, to actually find out who this person is, the anxiety collapses. Because you can't fail at being curious. You can't mess up genuine interests. And here's what happens when you operate from that place. You relax. You listen better. You say more interesting things, not because you prepared them, but because you're actually responding to a real person instead of performing for an imaginary audience. The second shift is about what rejection actually is. Right now, rejection feels like a verdict, like a judge looked at you and decided you weren't enough. But that's not what rejection truly is. Rejection is just incompatibility. It's timing. It's mood. It's the fact that two people in this particular moment weren't a match. It says almost nothing about you, and it says almost nothing about her. The guys who seem fearless around women aren't fearless because they never get rejected. They get rejected constantly, probably more than you because they try more often. They just stop treating rejection as information about their worth. When you genuinely get that, not just intellectually but in your mind, something changes. The wall doesn't disappear, but it gets smaller and smaller every day. The third shift is about starting smaller than you think you need to. A lot of guys think the answer is to go find the most intimidating situation possible and force themselves through it, like they need to suffer their way to confidence. That's not how it works. Start with conversations that feel easy. Talk to people you have no trust in. The guy at the coffee shop. a woman on the street whose bag you genuinely like. Not as practice runs for the real conversations, but as real conversations in themselves. Because every time you do it and walk away fine, you're quietly updating something. You're building evidence. You're showing yourself slowly that this isn't as dangerous as the story you made in your head. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a conclusion you reach after enough evidence. And evidence only comes from doing the thing. Here's what I want you to take from this. The reason you can't talk to girls isn't because you're bad at conversation. It's not because you're not attractive enough or interesting enough or confident enough. It's because somewhere along the way you learned that being vulnerable, being seen, risking rejection was too costly. And that lesson made sense at the time. Maybe it even protected you. But you're still running a program that was written for a younger version of you. One that didn't have the evidence you have now. One that hadn't yet learned that rejection doesn't break you. That awkward conversations don't define you. That most people are just other people, equally uncertain, equally hoping to connect. The version of you that can walk up to someone and just talk. Genuinely, openly, without performing, that version isn't far away. He's just on the other side of a story you stopped questioning. And the moment you start questioning it, everything changes.